All right, today we're diving into the story of a giant. But this isn't just any giant. This one doesn't run from fire. In fact, it embraces fire as a vital partner for its very existence. It's a pretty wild story.
Okay, just picture this for a second. Blazing flames are racing towards you. You feel that intense heat. The air is thick with smoke. Every animal around you is fleeing for its life. You want to run. You really do, but you can't. You're a plant, rooted to the spot, as the fire starts to lick at your trunk. Sounds like the end, right? Well, for one particular giant, it's actually just the beginning.
So let's meet the hero of our story, the giant sequoia, or if you want to get scientific, Sequoiadendron giganteum. Now, you can only find these magnificent trees in one place on the entire planet, the western slopes of the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. They are true titans of the plant kingdom, living in a landscape where fire is just a natural recurring event. But honestly, it's their sheer scale that's almost impossible to wrap your head around. First, let's talk about their age. These trees can live for an astonishing 3,300 years. Just think about that for a second. Some of these giants were already ancient when the Roman Empire was at its peak. It's just incredible.
And then there's their height. They can soar over 80 meters into the sky. That's taller than a 25-story building just sitting there in the forest.
But their most impressive record, the one that really blows everything else away, is their volume. A single trunk can contain over 1,500 cubic meters of wood, which makes them the largest trees on our planet by sheer mass.
Which, of course, brings us to a critical question. In a habitat that's so prone to fire, how does a living thing that can't move not only survive for thousands of years, but actually thrive?
Well, the answer lies in an incredible evolutionary strategy. You see, the sequoia doesn't just endure fire, it has learned to play with it.
The sequoia's success really comes down to a two-part master plan. First, it has a powerful defense system. And second, it has a brilliantly clever reproductive strategy that relies on the very thing that seems to threaten it. The sequoia's first line of defense is its armor. And I mean armor. The bark can be up to half a meter thick. But it's not just thick, it's fibrous, it's low in flammable resin, and it's packed with tannins, which are basically natural fire retardants. All this creates an incredibly effective shield, protecting the living tissue inside from the intense heat of a forest fire.
But look, just surviving isn't enough to dominate a forest for millennia. The sequoia's real genius is how it turns a destructive force into the ultimate creative opportunity. This is where the story gets really fascinating.
This brings us to the sequoia's most incredible trick. It actually uses fire to create the next generation. It literally needs the flames to bring forth new life from the ashes.
So here's how it works. First, the intense heat from a fire melts the resin that seals the sequoia's cones shut, forcing them to open up and release a shower of seeds. Second, the fire acts like a master gardener, clearing away all the competing shrubs and the thick layer of needles on the forest floor. And finally, the ash left behind creates the perfect seedbed. It's bare, rich in minerals, and totally open to the sun. You see, without fire, the sequoia's tiny seeds would have almost no chance. They'd just land on a thick mat of debris, shaded by other plants, and never even reach the soil or the sun. This discovery led to a complete shift in how we think about forest management. For decades, we suppressed all fires, believing we were protecting the trees. But we realized we were actually stopping them from reproducing. Now, controlled burns are used to mimic nature's cycle and make sure new giants can be born. But this whole process of rebirth from the cone down to the soil has another surprising helper, a much smaller and much furrier little ally.
Meet the chicory, also known as the Douglas squirrel. This little creature plays a surprisingly huge role in helping the giant sequoia spread its seeds. What's amazing is that the squirrel isn't really interested in the seeds themselves, but in the fleshy green scales of the cones, which are surprisingly nutritious. These squirrels are incredibly industrious. One was observed harvesting over 500 cones in about half an hour. They carry these cones away from the giant parent tree and often bury them in disturbed soil, which just so happens to be the perfect spot for those seeds to sprout. It's a classic win-win partnership. And this is the result of that brilliant strategy. This right here is the General Sherman tree, the largest living single-stem organism on Earth. Its immense size and its incredible age, estimated at up to 2,700 years, are a testament to this amazing adaptation to its fiery environment. It is a living monument to a life forged in flames. The story of the sequoia really forces us to rethink our relationship with fire.
We often see it as a purely destructive force, right? Something to be feared and extinguished. But for this ancient giant and its whole ecosystem, fire is the catalyst for renewal. It's the very key that unlocks the future.
It completely reframes our understanding, showing us that in nature, the forces of destruction and creation are often one and the same. It really makes you wonder, what other natural processes have we fundamentally misunderstood?